Tank Varus is being spammed in high elo, and it's actually a legitimate pick. Not only is Brand now one of the best solo queue junglers, there's a new unique setup that you have to be running. We've got all this and much more to cover as we provide you guys with 10 new builds or rune setups that are on the rise for patch 13.24. But before we get into it, be sure to check out SkillCapped if you want to truly get better at League of Legends. We're the only service that offers a money-back guarantee if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. We do this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't work for you, you shouldn't pay. Learn more at the end of this video or click the link in the description below. So let's start off by diving into that Tank Varus setup that we mentioned during the intro. It's a super wonky build that you probably would never expect, being a Radiant Virtue Rush into Wit's End 2nd and Titanic Hydra 3rd. This 3-item core is beating out the standard on-hit setups for Varus. It's crazy that players even come up with builds like these in the first place, and the fact the setup is winning at an absurd rate is even more insane. So one of the main reasons to why this build has become viable is due to the W buffs from patch 13.21. On-hit damage from Varus W got increased by 4 at max rank, so players going for this tank build are maxing their W out first to benefit from this change. Of course, you're still going to have less damage than if you built on-hit Varus, but because W has that built-in on-hit damage, it makes going for tank quite strong because you're way more difficult to take down, but can still output respectable DPS. The complete skill order has you maxing out W first, going Q second, and then E last. For the rune page, it's going to be Press the Attack, followed by Overheal, Alacrity, and Last Stand. Best secondary page is Bone Plating and Overgrowth. Also, key to note is that you want to be running Flash with Barrier for your summoner spell combination into volatile early game matchups like Aurelia or Darius, while Ghost works great into tanks like Malphite or Nasus who don't have as much early kill threat. There's been another new off-meta top lane pick seeing more play over the past week or so, and it's Graves with a very specific build. The Shy has been playing this one in solo queue, and it consists of rushing a Stormrazor. Stormrazor Rush is going to help top lane Graves out a ton, as the burst of movement speed it provides allows him to kite melee champs really well. You can play around the Stormrazor proc, looking for quick short trades whenever it's up and just rinse and repeat. Unlike Jungle Graves, mythic item for top lane Graves is not actually Ghostblade, as you want to be running Eclipse instead. The full 3-item core is Stormrazor, Eclipse, and then the Collector 3rd. The item combo of Stormrazor and Eclipse is going to help you out really well with those bruiser top lane champs. You have the ability to kite around with Stormrazor and the extra bit of durability coming out of the Eclipse shield. The rune page is looking like Fleet Footwork with Presence of Mind, Alacrity, and Last Stand, followed by Free Boots and Biscuits for secondaries. This next one is more so about the entire setup than just the build, as solo queue legend Agarin has been running a spicy new setup on his Brand jungle. The majority of Brand jungle players have been taking Flash with Smite for their summoner spells, but Agarin has been prioritizing Ghost over Flash. Although the sample size of Ghost from the general player base is small right now, it is winning more than Flash with about 4,000 games of Ghost Brand played. Ghost is going to work extremely well on Brand, especially once you enter those mid to late game skirmishes. When you have Rylai's completed, the kiting potential with Rylai's and Ghost is absolutely incredible. Another thing that Agarin does differently than most other Brand jungle players is that he maxes E out second instead of Q. E just got buffed recently, and it's much stronger now when you have it maxed out, so the priority on E max second has shot up. The core build that you should be running in most of your games consists of Liandry's Rush into Rylai's second and Zanya's third. Dark Harvest is the optimal keystone rune with Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, and Relentless Hunter. Grab Magical Footwear and Cosmic Insight for secondaries. There's a very underrated build for Talon jungle that is being played in high elo right now, and it does not involve Ghostblade or Prowler's Claw. Although Ghostblade is a really great pickup on Talon, if you're playing into a comp with more bruiser or tank champions, there's an alternative setup that offers a ton of strength. Eclipse into Axiom Arc 2nd and Black Cleaver 3rd is the 3-item core. With the shield from Eclipse and the ability to significantly reduce your R cooldown with Axiom Arc, the skirmish power of Talon is much higher with this setup. You may not have the same kind of one-shot strength as if you went Ghostblade into Prowler's Claw, but if you're playing into champs that are going to be building tanky, one-shotting them isn't really an option anyways. Eclipse and Black Cleaver together are going to give you a lot more extended fight power, which is what you're going to need into more beefy comps. Rune page with this setup is First Strike, followed by Magical Footwear, Futures Market, and Cosmic Insight. Grab Sudden Impact and Treasure Hunter for secondaries. So there's this new Galio setup that is being played in Korean high elo, and more specifically, a Grandmaster Galio main who goes by the name of Galbro has been spamming it. Aftershock has always been the cookie cutter rune setup to run on Galio mid lane, but Galbro has been playing Fleet Footwork. When you actually look at when he's running the page and the logic behind it, it makes makes a lot of sense. Syndra and Orianna are two of the most common mid lane champions right now, and Galio is never going to reliably proc Aftershock against them in the laning phase. Aftershock is kind of a wasted summoner spell on Galio, at least in lane, against all ranged mids. By running the fleet footwork, you get so much more value early on to fend off against those ranged mids. You're also able to take second wind, which in combination with fleet provides some really nice sustain power. It's really just the rune page that is unique here though, as the build is standard stuff with an Everfrost rush into Zhonya's second. This next setup is a very interesting adaptation for AP Kog'Maw, as it has you running Manamune in place of Archangels. You're still building Leandries for your mythic item and then grabbing Rylai's third, but it's the AD mana stacking item in Manamune that is seeing far greater results than Archangels. To get a better understanding of why Manamune wins more than Archangels, we went into Practice Tool and did a simple damage test. Shockingly so, Seraph's Embrace Kog'Maw actually deals less damage with a full combo than Mirror Mana. So even though Mirror Mana provides no AP at all, the Shock passive is so strong that it allows you to outdamage Seraphs. So in this case, the only perk to running Seraphs would be the added durability from the shield, but with AP Cog, you want to be playing fights super far back due to his long range, so the value of Seraphs is not as high on him as a shorter range mage like Ryze. Now, not only are you dealing more damage from your abilities when opting for Mirror Mana, but damage coming out of W is also way more impactful. We didn't even factor in the added damage from W when showing those damage tests, which just goes to show how much more powerful Mirror Mana really is. W damage is pretty much non-existent if you build Archangels, but with the AD for Mirror Mana, weaving in autos if the enemy gets in close range will further amplify the DPS of Mirror Mana. The rune setup that you will want to run with this build is Comet followed by Mana Flow, Transcendence, and Scorch. Pick up Presence of Mind and Coup de Grace for secondaries. Yasuo builds have been all over the place in recent patches, as we featured the Stridebreaker setup last patch, and there's now Iceborne Gauntlet that is becoming increasingly popular. The rush item stays the same, as you want to be grabbing Kraken Slayer, but it's Iceborne Gauntlet second and Immortal Shield Bow third. Gauntlet is actually winning the most for any mythic item on Yasuo, which is a great sign, but that doesn't necessarily mean the item is OP for all games. You're only going to be building Iceborne in spots to where it's actually valuable against those heavy AD compositions. Generally speaking, heavy AD comps tend to consist of more bruiser champions as well, so the added durability from Gauntlet helps a ton in extended fights. Kraken into Infinity Edge is going to deal more damage, but that doesn't really matter if you're up against a Riven top and Hecarim jungle and just get chain CC'd to death. So all in all, Iceborne is a great situational pickup on Yasuo right now that should be run a lot more in the correct spots. Rune Page is going to be the standard stuff with Lethal Tempo, Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand for primaries, while Second Wind and Unflinching work great for secondaries. We've got another more durable build that has been gaining popularity as of recent, and this time it's on Draven. Draven has been running Trinity Force into the Collector as his most common core for a while now, but it's actually Trinity Force with Black Cleaver that is starting to take over. It's not just Black Cleaver though that is unique about this build, as you're opting for Asterix Gauge as the third pickup. So one of the major perks of this build is that once you have all three items completed, you'll have a grand total of 1,150 bonus health. Not only this, but you've got the shield from Sterix as well, which adds even more durability. Of course, the damage won't be as high, but the build is going to be way more consistent and not require you to play immaculately mechanically. One misstep with a standard Draven build and you're just dead. With this build, you can soak so much more damage and not have to sweat so much in fights worrying about getting caught out. Rune Page to go along with the build is Lethal Tempo, followed by Presence of Mind, Bloodline, and Last Stand. Grab Eyeball Collection and Treasure Hunter for secondaries. World champion Gumayusi and well-respected pro ADC Viper have both been playing a build that nobody else has been running on Caitlyn. Stormrazor Rush has been most popular for a while now, but Gumayusi has been liking Infinity Edge instead. IE is going to provide you with 10 more AD than Stormrazor, so when it comes down to poking away at the enemy with your Q and R, IE is going to win out. Say for example you're playing with a mage support like Zyra or Xerath, and you're just looking to heavily poke the enemy down with Caitlyn Q. Going for an IE Rush makes a lot of sense. Once you have the enemy poked down, Infinity Edge is going to give you more raw damage on your R so that you have a greater chance of finishing them off on low health. Now, if you're paired with an Enchanter support to where you'll need to be auto-attacking much more to be effective, then Stormrazor makes more sense to rush since you'll be getting good value out of its energized proc. So Infinity Edge Rush is definitely underrated in the correct spots, but it's not like Stormrazor is a bad option by any means. The Rune Page is Fleet Footwork with Presence of Mind, Bloodline, and Coup de Grace, followed by Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm for secondaries. Support is always the hardest role for us to find legitimately new OP builds for, but in 13.23, we have a super spicy one, being Hail of Blades Janna. This one is seeing quite a bit of play over in Korean high elo, as players are running Hail of Blades to take advantage of Janna's new passive. If you guys have not been following the patches very closely, Janna got a change to where her passive now converts her movement speed into on-hit damage. This means that Janna's autos actually deal a decent amount of damage now, and they really hit hard when you run Hail of Blades. Using E on yourself, throwing W at the enemy, autoing them 3 times with Hail of Blades, and then backing off using Q to peel is a great trade pattern, especially into melee supports. Of course, it's the W max first that you want to prioritize with this setup, as you want as much upfront burst as possible. Here's a look at the complete rune page, as it's Hail of Blades, Cheap Shot, Zombie Ward, and Relentless Hunter for primaries. The optimal secondary runes are Celerity and Scorch. The build that players are running alongside this rune setup are also extremely unique. Crown of the Shattered Queen Rush is being played a ton, as it really helps with Janna's ability to get up close and weave in those Hail of Blades autos. Crown also makes it super difficult for enemy dive champs to take out Janna in fights, as they not only have to find a way through all her peel power, but they need to shred through her Crown passive as well. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about SkillCapped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week, with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent Challenger players into ELO Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. So there you have it guys, 10 new setups that are on the rise for patch 13.24. Thanks so much for watching, good luck with these builds, and we'll see you back soon.